All right, ladies and gentlemen, now that you've hopefully had a few moments to complete your warm-up activity, make sure you're looking at your Google Classroom. Uh, Here, second, it'll say the same thing, might be a different picture, but the announcements are all the same. There are a couple things that I want to draw your attention to. One, there's an announcement. The Topic 2 CQA Test Study Guide is linked below, right here. When you click on this, it's going to open up your study guide. And it's going to have all the key terms of every one that we have discussed this quarter. And on the back, it will have the essays. We'll discuss these more in class. We'll talk about these more in class on Monday. If you have questions about them, email me. But essentially, they're about early European attempts at colonialization, the Spanish compared to the English, the 3 English colonial regions that we've talked about a lot the last week, and then finally the challenges that these early colonies faced. Think about the problems they had getting along with Native Americans, or just not starving to death, or not dying of disease. Okay, so that's one thing that you have in your Google Classroom. Second thing is the multi-step assignment that we're doing today. It has your first procedure mentioned on it, the warm-up that you would have just done, the text 4 on colonial schools and colleges, and then the interactive chart that you just did. The second thing, what you're going to spend most of your time on today, is read the assigned text 3, Foundations of Representative Government, from your online textbook, and copy down the lecture notes from the projectors or attached below. If you're watching this video in first and second period, you're going to have to get your lecture notes from the slides on the Google Classroom. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. First, when you're in your online textbook, one of your assigned plans will say Text 3, Foundations of Representative Government. And when you open it, it will have 6 slides. 5 of those are to read, and then 1 final question that will tell you a little bit about how the colonies set up governments, how they felt about the right to vote, why they thought that was important, and how that power of the people to vote and choose representatives kept the appointed government, the king's governors, from having too much power. As you're working on the questions in a moment, you will need this chart found on slide 4. Looks like that. And then after you have read and reviewed this, going back to our Google Classroom, you have 2 slides of notes. One on roots of representative government, that looks like this. You can copy that into your lecture notes, so it's not going to be on the projector beyond what you're seeing right now in the video, but it's there for you to copy right off of Google Classroom. The second slide is on limitations of liberty, because not everybody could participate in the political process. For example, there were limitations on women and African Americans. After you've read that, copied the lecture notes, there's another form here on foundations of representative government. These are questions specifically related to what you just read, and there are 4 of them. 1, why did the Virginia Company establish an elected assembly to make laws? What were some of the jobs or powers these elected assemblies had? You should name at least 2. Would you have been able to vote in the colonies if you were an adult? How do you feel about that? How would you feel about others in this room not being able to vote? Is that fair? And then finally, look at the chart in text 3 on slide 4, the chart I just showed you. What does consent of the governed mean? I want you to define that phrase in your own words. You may need to look up the word consent. If a government does not have the consent of the people, what do you think should happen to that government? This will take you the bulk of the rest of class. So I'm going to leave you to that for a little bit, and then I'm going to make one more video to show you a small extra credit opportunity that you'll have afterwards.